Hey everybody, today I got 5 books for you that will get you started or just give you a new avenue to go down in your spirituality journey. So, my first book I have for you is Living in the Mindful Universe by Eben Alexander. And I'll put these in the description for you because I'm pretty sure that this image is going to be backwards if I put text in there, but I'll show it to you anyway. So, this book, when I was reading it, is pretty much about a neuroscientist that had some type of brain bacteria. I haven't read it in a while, so I forgot the exact term for it. But pretty much, this bacteria was eating at his brain, and he went into a coma. And in this coma, he had a near-death experience to which he was seeing things that he couldn't rationalize, things that you can't put into words. And I found this book very awesome because it was like the bridging of the gap between the scientific person that everything needs to be tangible and proven and be in some peer-reviewed article, and then there's just some stuff that you just have to admit that there's no way science can explain that, or it can't explain it yet. But us hippies over here know this type of stuff just by faith, just by trust, whereas these people need that. So it's kind of like to bridge the gap. It's like, okay, science isn't there yet. Let me just start to venture in here to see what else is potentially out there so I can go back and research it. It's like you can't force spirituality on people. Some people need the tangible stuff. So this is just a bridge the gap. And, if you are very much a skeptic of this type of world, of the spirituality world or anything like that, that's a good book to get into. The next book we have is The Toltec Art of Life and Death by Don Miguel Ruiz. This book was amazing. Once again, it starts off with another coma. This guy had a heart attack though. But pretty much, this is a story about just the Toltec arts. And basically, from my understanding, I could be severely limiting what I'm saying here, but they're pretty much like the shamans, and they're like the Aztecs. They're those type of people. And so he's already very spiritual. He already taught spirituality, these types of things. But during his coma, he was having instances where he was getting full-blown conversations with like the spiritual embodiments of his ancestors. He was going through past events. There was like a scene that I remember where he was seeing the tree of life, or what he calls the tree of knowledge, and he saw the world, but then he saw basically souls entering and exiting at the same time, just going to show how connected everything is. The imagery in this book was amazing. Like I felt like I was there. I felt like I was just walking along in the spiritual world with him. And he wrote a series of other books I'll talk about later, but this was the book that really got me thinking, wow, there's potentially something more out there. I've always been somewhat spiritual, but this book was just like, nah, I got way too deep into this book. There's something else here, you know what I mean? And it was just like, it felt like I was just sitting down at the campfire listening to like a wise elder tell a story, And it got so deep, I was just like, I need to find out more. And this is the book that set me on my spiritual journey. The next one I have for you is one by Neville. Of course, I couldn't have a book recommendation without talking about Neville, but this is Feeling is the Secret. And this is basically what I've been teaching in the manifestation videos I have, law of attraction, these types of things, but it's a very, very short book. You can see the text is large and it's all spaced out. It's a super easy read. But that's just all it needs to be. It's a very simple process, and he gives a few examples here and there, but it's just so succinct and clear. You have to feel what it is that you want. When you have, like, let's just say you're very excited for something, you're just in a good mood all day. Nothing can stop you that day because your energy is bringing that good vibe to you. So just do that with everything else. And if you want the practical guide to how to do these things, go ahead and check out the last videos. The next one is very similar to Neville, but this is Florence Scovel Shinn, and this is a collection of all of her works. And she was just another mystic. I don't quite know her time frame, but she does also reference the Bible in her teachings, just like Neville. And I'm not like a very religious person. I call myself spiritual, but the way that Neville and Florence Scovel Shinn explain the Bible and use different excerpts, it's just like, how could it be interpreted in any other way? So what I like about this book, and this is the book I'm actually currently reading, is she goes into detail with the application and examples. Like she gives examples of someone came in saying, oh, this XYZ. And I said, well, what's been happening in your life that makes you feel like that? And then they'll give an example of all the crap that's happening in their lives. So she says, okay, do this, change your thinking like this, say this affirmation, believe this, blah, 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 blah. And then she gives the results. The only difference, like Neville gives a few of those stories, but this is like a collection of just like story after story after story. Neville's more like, here's the law, here's how it kind of works, here's a quick little example. But he's like so into it, he's just like, hey, you can believe me or not. Like, you can't escape it. I don't need to explain it to you. Whereas this one, she explains it quite well. And it makes you feel good. It's like, okay, this has happened for people. Maybe I should give this a try and not rush it and just follow the advice in here. This one gives affirmations, examples, the laws of the universe, things like that, but in a very, very simplified, but more story-driven way. So I really do like this, and this is the book I'm currently reading. And on the other end of the spectrum, we have Divine Architecture and the Starseed template, and it's Matrix Memory Triggers for Ascension, Magenta, Pixie. Now, all that sounds like this is like the other end of the spectrum for some people. If you are a skeptic, just me saying all that, you're probably like, what is he talking about? And sometimes you're just drawn to different things in your spiritual journey. You might be more with the neuroscientist that had his coma, but he's explaining things. You're using, brain words and things to the point where he's just like, but I couldn't explain it. So it had to be something spiritual. There had to be something more. This one's like, no, you're all the way in it. By the time you get to this type of reading, and there's probably more even past there, this is just where I'm at, where in this book, she's basically channeling information from the higher dimensions, higher sources, universes, the matrix of the world, whatever words you want to use. And basically, they're saying, like, while they're telling and explaining what's going on, they're using words that are supposed to trigger words in our DNA, things that we just innately know. That's just like, wait, something in me like that word, something in me like that concept. Maybe I should look into that a little bit more. It's kind of like when you first get turned on to something like a new food or something. It's not just a food that tastes good to you. You're like, no, I've never eaten it like in this lifetime. Like, I've never eaten it, but something... This conjures up memories for some reason. I don't know why. It's kind of like that. But this one's just like, hey, it's all in your DNA. You're a divine being. You're a starseed. You're all the above. So we're just here in this 3D world, and it's up to you to get out of the matrix, as in like the brainwashing and the type of stuff that's going on. Not in some conspiracy type stuff. It's more extra dimensional. But once again, a very good book, and like I would feel my ears ringing reading this type of book. It felt good. Like, this one talks about just DNA, emotions, belief systems, how all these things affect your matrix, overworld, underworld, middle world, all these types of things. So if you want to get into some real good spiritual stuff, some higher learning, higher divine type of reading, this is something for you. So those were 5 books. Basically, with these books, I try to get like a little spectrum, something that is a little bit more like, science based, but gets to the point where it's like science can't explain this yet. And then we get all the way to the extra part where it's like, you're not even human, you're divine star seed, you are a being of light. That might be a lot for some people, and we're not here to rush you. Take everything with a grain of salt. Make sure you read something and you get your own opinion, but just come into everything open-minded. That's the most important thing about a spiritual journey. Just be open-minded about where the people are coming from, because most of these people are just writing from experience. With this channel, I like to speak from experience. The things that I teach, I have experienced firsthand. I haven't just read a book and said, okay, I read that, now go spit it on camera. Nah. It's like I've practiced it. Some things work for me, some don't. But at least you know that I tried it. And it might work for you, might not. But yep, here's a few resources for you. I hope you check them out, and I will leave the title to all these with the authors in the description. And I hope you check them out. Have fun.